Hello, and welcome back to the classic Doctor Who marathon. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
And in today's review, we're looking at the second story of the very first season, The Daleks. So, this story is notable for a lot of things.
One is the first.
It is the first alien planet in Doctor Who. It's the first Dalek story, most notably.
Which actually pushed Doctor Who forward in, viewings.
Yeah, so I think this is the story. Well, the first story was popular. This is the one which
that kicked off Doctor Who.
No, it didn't kick it off, but it was the one which made it go from "it's alright" to "this show is amazing."
Yeah.
So it's 7 episodes long, which is very long.
Yeah.
But generally, just first impression, what did you make of the story?
Well, the story was interesting. Because I think it's the type of thing that if it was pitched at that time period, which it obviously was at some point, you might think, no, it can't make that. However, somehow they did.
Okay, but in terms of the story, what do you make of it?
Well, the characters were interesting. Some things suddenly happened. It's like they might be in one situation and then suddenly another situation comes in.
Well, that's sort of the Daleks throughout are trying to find a way. But the plot of the story, for those of you which haven't seen this, is, which you should go and watch it, it's essential. So, essentially, the Daleks are trapped in their city on Skaro, and they want to be able to leave the city. However, it turns out they need to have radiation to breathe, essentially, because while we breathe oxygen, for instance, the Daleks have mutated into a being which relies on radiation to breathe, and so they try many different methods of trying to do that. And so these include a neutronic bomb and other various methods.
That didn't really go anywhere, did
it? It goes a lot further than the Peter Cushing version.
Because it's like, we will use a neutronic bomb, and then later, let's not use a neutronic bomb.
No, actually, no, it won't work. It takes too long. We've changed our mind.
So,
do you think that was Terry Nation having written in this big thing with a neutronic bomb, and then the BBC's go, we can't do that?
Yeah.
Like, between episodes 4 and 5.
We just managed to make a model out of a dead city.
And it's like, oh, Daleks changed their mind.
I saw this behind the scenes jokey thing of like a sketch of behind the scenes of making this video of this episode, and at one point the studio blows up. So that might have been them testing out using a neutronic bomb in the episode and it failing. So let's just say, no, let's not do that.
In terms of really one of the antagonists of early on is the Doctor himself, because he's sort of the reason the main team get trapped in this situation. Because
basically they find a dead city, but even though the forest is completely dead, there's a city which looks like it could be have a population inside. So the Doctor decides to trick the TARDIS team into thinking that they can't leave Skaro until they get something from the city, when in fact they can leave the whole time, but the Doctor just wants to see the city, so he tricks them into going to the city, and everything goes wrong.
And that's part of the great characterisation of the Doctor, I think, early on, because back then it was sort of, he was really desperate to, I think they can make it a bit better in the Peter Cushing version.
It might have been because
he's just so desperate to explore. In the Peter Cushing version,
he's more of the
he's more like, oh, I really want to explore. In this version, he's like, I will explore, and there's nothing.
I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
in terms of the Daleks, imagine this is the very first time you've ever watched a Dalek story ever. You've never come across the Daleks before, and this is your first experience with it.
Well, there weren't actually many science fiction things at this time. First episode, it was a cave, not too many, so there hadn't been many things.
I don't know what you're going on about, but your impression of the alien creature, the Daleks.
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm saying if I had never seen it before when it was aired.
Right. Yeah.
Because we had just seen the cavemen, and suddenly going to this new creature, the Daleks, which we have seen so much now. They're very sinister.
Yeah, they're not nowadays. They're very much. Oh, we're just gonna kill everything because why not? Back then, it was very, like, it was very much based on the Nazis, wasn't it?
Yeah, this one also focuses on the whole thing in, like, the early parts focuses on the thing inside the shell. Like, they tried to do that a bit in Modern Who at one point, but that did not go well. Like, they say exterminate to set off the gun. They didn't actually say exterminate at one point in the story.
They say exterminated.
But they don't say exterminate. But it's more on the thing, like when Ian climbs inside the Dalek, it more focuses on the inside of the...
Well, in this one, the idea was the shell is very much their armour.
Yeah.
And there's a creature inside wanting to come out, which I think is really interesting. Because it's very much...
Like, they really don't focus it. Like,
I think it's just because these designs were so incredibly popular and amazing.
Yeah, like, these Daleks are all about trying... Like, the shell, they don't really want the shell, do they? They just...
No.
It's just necessary for them. But, like, in Modern Who, it's just like, we'll just use the shell, because why not?
In terms of length, the story is 7 parts, which is about 3.5 hours.
Like, when they're climbing through...
How long? I'm just going to see. It's just under 3 hours.
In the later parts, when Ian, Barbara, and some of the Thals are climbing through the tunnels to get into the city,
that bit does go on quite a long time.
That part could have been half a part instead of 2.5 parts.
Well, if I was to tell you, this story could have been even longer. Edge of Destruction at one point could have been another 2 parts of the Daleks.
Oh no. But
then budget reasons. So
it was mainly that part, because just cut that down to half a part. Suddenly it's 5 parts.
It feels like this story could have been 6 parts.
Or even shorter.
I think as a 6-parter, this would have been pretty good.
Well, it is a good story.
I think
as a 7-parter.
with all the stuff they wanted to get through, because like the Peter Cushing version does greatly reduce a lot of points. Like,
yeah, it gets on with
in
the
that
story.
one. Well, even in like that one, the neutronic bomb becomes the main.
Oh, the main problem.
Yeah. And then they get rid of that in this version, which I'm fine with. I mean, the Peter Cushing version is amazing, and I love it.
Well, they have to change it slightly for the films.
Yeah, but next question. So the length, you reckon it could have been? We reckon it could have been.
It could have been a lot
shorter.
Well, I think like 2 parts shorter, because I think the part they spent 2.5 parts on climbing through the tunnels. That could have been half.
They didn't spend 2.5 parts on it. It was like a part and a half.
No, they did spend 2 halves.
Did they? Okay.
2 halves, no, 2 parts. But they spent way too much time on that, I think. Like in the last few, apart from the final one, the couple before the final one, the Doctor and Susan didn't do much because it focused on Ian and Barbara.
Yeah,
and
at this point, Ian is very much a hero.
Yeah, wasn't Doctor Who originally meant to be about Ian and Barbara?
It sort of is, yeah.
But
then they
it was their mystery about the Doctor, but then the Doctor was the more popular character.
Well, no, it was sort of like Ian and Barbara were the heroes, and the Doctor was the person that got you from A to B.
Yeah.
Then, as time went on, that role went a bit more to the Doctor. Ian and
because the characters started leaving.
Yeah, and then like when Susan left, there was a bit more about the Doctor. Then Ian and Barbara.
Because he was the only really alien one.
Then Ian and Barbara left, and so he very much became the leader of the group.
Because he was the one we were used to.
And then from then on, I mean, he's top credited, but really at this point he's not the hero.
Well, he might have been top credited because when this was released, also because.
I mean, his contract said he would, but
yeah,
that's why he's credited for Mission to the Unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
The thing we were talking about earlier about the Doctor being sinister reminds me of an Adventure in Space and Time in that scene where William Hartnell goes like, I don't like this character, he's way too sinister. You said I would be the happy fellow. You didn't say
Had you ever watched this story before?
I had watched part 1, but I hadn't seen any of the rest of the story.
Did it live up to expectations?
Yes. Just a bit too long.
I
thought, when you said 7 parts, I thought it would still be, like, every part there's something which was essential to the story. Like, in the later parts, there was a lot. In the parts, there were quite a few scenes that just weren't essential, such as the part where it's like, ooh, let's have lunch. Ooh, metal. Ooh, bacon and eggs. Like
no, I like that bit in part 1.
But I think there were a lot of scenes a bit like
keep that.
There were some scenes like that which just weren't necessary.
I think that bit is necessary.
No, like there were scenes.
That's part of the overarching theme of this first trilogy.
There were
because
probably could have been a part of the next episode.
The first three very much is a trilogy.
Yeah, but like that part could have been part of the next episode, since the next episode is about them in the TARDIS. But like there were a lot of scenes which just didn't seem to be necessary. And when you said 7 parts, it made me think that means since there's so much done, that must mean that everything is necessary.
Yes, it could have been shorter. Yes, it sort of has the same amount of content.
It probably was because of the plots of the other episodes and the contract of just 13 episodes.
Would you...
which is still quite long, 3 and a bit months for a show.
13 episodes is not long for a series at all.
Well, when you think about it...
That's like the bare minimum, pretty much.
Wait, to have like TV shows gotten shorter, because nowadays the series is like 6 to 12 episodes.
Oh yeah, in America, still. I mean, in the classic series, it began on about 48 episodes a season.
Wasn't it originally just like autumn is off and everything else?
It's August is off.
Oh yeah.
Then, from Pertwee onwards, it became 6 months of the year. And then from Colin onwards, it went down to 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, 14 episodes.
The whole thing of it getting shorter, I realised if it was nowadays, and it's like, Doctor Who's getting shortened by half a year, we'd be like, no, it's not going to be as good.
The remove, yeah.
But since somehow we know that it still carries on.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because there probably wasn't much complaining back then.
Yeah. Remember, that's going from all year round to... But you'll have a bit of time where there won't be Doctor Who.
Well, most of the year round.
Barry Letts!
But something I was thinking about when watching this is that... Because there were some scenes, like, every part just follows immediately after the other one.
Yeah,
so why wouldn't they just, like, film... Like, what they did do is that they'd film... Like, they'd rehearse lines first couple of days and then film last couple of days and edit on the Friday. But then why didn't they just film it all? Like, film part 1 in that order, but then just carry on filming, because then they could have a couple of weeks off.
It's to do with money and scheduling and contracts.
Okay.
Remember, they were not given long. They were given an evening to record an episode, remember? I
thought it was 2 evenings.
They had 1 evening to record the episode.
So 1 evening would be a dress rehearsal, and then the next one would be...
Well, no, for Friday, I read this in an interview, it's one of the best interviews ever with William Hartnell, which then Peter Capaldi answered the questions for as well, for, like, a future one. So what they do is they do 2 dress rehearsals on the Friday, in the day, and then at the end of the day they'd do a full run-through.
And then the next day film?
No, the full run-through was the film.
Oh.
On the Friday evening.
Okay, so back to the story.
So this leads in straight from An Unearthly Child.
Well, these ones definitely did, because like this one ends with the TARDIS crashing, which is how the next story begins.
Speaking of which,
so as like one long story.
In each time we're going to go into what we expect from the next one. I've seen most of these, but you've never seen
part 1.
Yeah, you've technically seen Edge of Destruction
because of ordering that we've watched.
But in terms of when we watch it, so you've technically watched part 1. But what would be your wish from Edge of Destruction? In terms of, this is a loose trilogy of An Unearthly Child, The Daleks and Edge of Destruction.
Well, at the time when they would have written the script, it would have been the final episode. So I think I'd expect there to be something, as if it...
Well, no. They commissioned 13, but by the time Edge of Destruction came along, they'd already got Marco Polo coming. It's just they needed 2 weeks in between where they had literally no money.
Well, do you think it was the Daleks that really gave them money, in a way? Sort of,
but they needed 2 weeks of filler or 2 more episodes of the Daleks, and they went with Edge of Destruction.
Well,
so what would you hope from this story? Because we've had a story set in the past, a story set in the future. Probably, what would you want to round off this trilogy in 2 parts?
A lot more on the main characters, more character development.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay, cool.
As you saw in part 1, loads of that happened already.
Well, still not
we're not
much.
Talking about it. There's quite a bit. Part 2, you get a lot.
You think that's a good...
I think...
This is a good spot to round off.
Well, yeah, so the Daleks. In conclusion, the Daleks essentially is what made Doctor Who. The notes, the introduction on here does call it the most important story in Doctor Who history. Would you agree there?
Well, no.
What is then?
Well, basically any story that can sort of start off the show in a way that an unearthly child is, and like with the Daleks, it's a good starter for the Daleks. However, like what you said earlier, it's a must see. It doesn't mean that you have to see it, because it doesn't really.
You do have to see it.
Like, I hadn't seen it, but it didn't mean I didn't.
But would you call it? I reckon it's the most important in the show's history, because any show can have a dodgy pilot. It's about episode 2, really, if it can either keep up what's going on. And
that was something you said about Doctor Who Series 11 in Modern Who, because you were like, I really hope episode 2 keeps up the standards that episode 1.
Yeah, because like Series 5 even, while I love Series 5, episode 2 has a massive drop from episode 1.
So like you could give it like, oh, this is awesome, and then I want to continue, and then like...
You can either have a good pilot or a terrible pilot. It's about...
It's mainly the first half. The first half needs to be good, because if the first half is bad, then people aren't going to stay for the second half.
So the Daleks, it is the most important in the show's history.
Yeah.
And what's your rating out of 10 for it?
9.
9? You've been really critical of it.
Well, yeah, because even... There are still good things, because usually people point out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Unless it's like something you're trying to show off.
Yeah, I'd give it a 9 as well.
Like,
but I've been really nice to it. And
well, yeah, it's not that. Don't think that I hate this episode. I don't hate this episode.
This video's been like you going, I don't know, and I'm going, it's great.
But like when you see something and you notice some bad things, they're usually the things you point out more than the...
Is it better than An Unearthly Child?
Yes.
Yeah. Not better than part 1?
No.
And I mean, just the Daleks are incredible villains. This is their best way they could have introduced them, I reckon.
Yeah.
Can you think of another way to introduce them?
Well, if they like changed the script in a way for Genesis, there's like, we have found a creature that...
Oh no, because the whole point of Genesis is that... The whole point of Genesis is...
I know.
But I know what we're going to be like, but can I still do that?
I know.
Yeah. So, we're on to Edge of Destruction next.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for that?
Well, I just earlier.
So, for Daleks, how are you finding season 1 of Doctor Who?
Very entertaining.
Because you've never watched any of season 1 before, have you?
Yeah, and especially for people in when this was aired. Like, there are some things which are okay, but like, when this was aired, this would have been like, wow, this is amazing. Like, it is still really good, but like...
Okay. So, due to the amount of time between watching episodes, we're actually going to be back next week with Edge of Destruction. What are you doing?
Something I've noticed on the boxes. They show the William Hartnell introduction in the background.
Good for you. Due to when we watch episodes, Edge of Destruction review will be next week. Yep. So, we'll see you next time for the Edge of Destruction.
Bye.
Goodbye.